Hey everybody, what's up? This is Let's Make a Model Dark Angels Restorative Edition Part 5, I think. Um, yeah, I think it's Part 5. Whatever the number says in the title will be the correct number. Um, when I last left off with him, I just got the heavy body black wash done on his Catachan green base color. The next step, like I said in that video, was to do Dark Angels green and then Snot green on the entire armor. Now, if you don't have Catachan green, you could probably get away with a Dark Angel, just using Dark Angels green with a black wash and then doing Dark Angels green again over it. But if you're following along, I want to know what I did exactly. I did a Catachan green with a heavy body black wash, and then I went ahead and did the armor in Dark Angels green, careful not to get it into the recesses as best I could. If it happens a little bit here and there, it's almost unavoidable at times. Not a big of a deal, but try and really, I try to be neat at this stage. And then once that's dry, I take Snot green, and I water it down a bit, mostly because my Snot green is kind of clumped up, and I gotta get a new one actually. But I water it down a little bit, coat the brush in it, and I wipe some off so it's not like dripping with it. And then I hit the edges, and where possible, I use the flat of the brush instead of the tip of the brush. I get a bit more control that way, especially on hard edges, and it helps accent it. I go for kind of a less is more approach in most things, and this is no exception. I mean, I kind of hit it a little hard on the shoulder pad, but overall, as you can see, he's got it on there, but he's not overpowering with extreme edged highlighting. If you're good at feathering or at blending the paint into the undercoat and everything like that, go for it. I am not. So that's why I do it this way. And I think this effect still works. I don't go for an extreme highlighting job either, so I stop at Snot green. You could add some white or some yellow into the Snot green, or even some scorpion green in the Snot green, maybe, if you have it, to try and lighten up some more if you really want to kind of step up. You do Snot green and a layer on top of that, either with yellow or white in it, and you get the idea. Not by itself, you put the yellow or the white into the Snot green. And that's where we are now with the model. I did his eyes and I did his tabard before I did the armor. And the reason I do it that way is because the method I'd use for the eyes, which is General Splatten's wash method for the eyes, and the method I use for the tabard, which is dry brushing, can be a little messy sometimes if you're not too careful. So I do that first. That way, when I touch it up, it's from painting the armor. With Space Marines, more often than not, even with somebody who has extra detail like this guy with like a name ribbon on his chest, I don't know what you call that. Name parchment on his chest, and with the parchments on his, well, not parchments, but with the I guess parchment. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But he's got detail on his shoulder pad there, and he's got the name tag thing here on his chest, and he's got the purity seals on the skull and whatnot. Even with models like this, once you get any cloth and the armor done, that's basically the entire model right there. I mean, you have the weapons, yes, and you have the eyes and some extra details to do. But the model really looks like what you're trying to get it to look like once you've done any cloth and armor on the model. And I say that because Dark Angels have some guys covered in robes, so the cloth and the armor done together pretty much gets that Dark Angel look. Black Templars can have tabards and whatnot, so same deal. So the next step here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the weapons in red. I'm going to do any metallic detail on bolt gun metal. I'm going to wash the bolt gun metal because I love metallics. They look cool, but they can kind of drown out the detail a little bit, especially putting on someone that has detail. So what can really help make it pop is a light wash. Even if you want it to look fairly pristine and new, if you can do a very light wash of black or brown, depending upon the armor color, or the metallic color, I should say, it'll make it pop and stand out more. And then I'm going to do the purity seals and the parchment for that, and then any other parchment on this guy, and the skull on his knee. And that's it. So basically, I'm just going to finish up the model, and when you see him next time, he'll be matte varnished. He'll be matte varnished, and on his base, that's already done and ready to go. And I'll talk about what I did to get there in terms of that. But the quick rundown is basically anything here that's not painted yet, which is the purity seal, anything that's not the armor or the tabard or his eyes, has to be painted. It sounds like a lot, but it goes very quickly. That's why I'm doing it all in one go, because it would be tedious to do like 3 or 4 different videos, or even 2 or 3 different videos on like just doing the armor ribbing and the metallics and the weapons and then stuff like that, when you can all do it together. And really, you can find a method for it. Batch paint it. You can do all the metallics first, or do all of the weapons first, whatever you want to do if you're batch painting. But that's pretty much it. This guy is nearly done. Once I get around to sit down and painting him, his detail work will go by very quickly, actually. So thanks for sticking with that. And hopefully this wasn't too much of a jumping around video there. I kind of did jump a bit in terms of talking about what's next. Now, one quick thing of note, the paints are changing. In fact, I shot this video on the 4th of April, hoping to get it up online soon, within like a day or two of shooting it on the 4th of April. But basically this coming weekend is the release, I believe, of the paints. So all the paints I'm talking about here, Catachan Green, Dark Angels Green, Badab Black, they're no longer going to be existing, and they'll be here in different names. And that's my point. The paint formula's changed a bit, so maybe a slight shade or hue difference between Dark Angels Green and Caliban Green, for example. So what I plan to do, and I already have it on order, is get the paints they suggest for the Dark Angels, and I'll paint with it a little bit on a couple of models, and then I'll do another Let's Make a Model Dark Angels edition with the new paints, because let's face it, people getting into the hobby who may be watching it, they at that point will really only have the new paints to go on easily and reliably to get. So that's what they're going to be painting with. And even for us people in the hobby already, we're going to run out of paint anyway. And by the time we run out, we're going to have to get more. And if you use Citadel paints, I mean, that's what I use, that's why I'm going with it. So if you utilize that paint, you're going to be getting the new paints. And I look forward to the new paints, really, so I'm not worried about that. But anyway, that's it for this edition of the Let's Make a Model Dark Angels restorative. We started off with him painted up already. I stripped the model, and then I went ahead and base coated him, and then I did his eyes and his tabard. Then I did his armor in 2 steps, getting it to Catachan Green with a heavy body black wash on it. And then after that, what we see here is Dark Angels Green on top of that, and then highlighted with Snot Green. And if you're good at feathering or blending the color together, you can do that instead of just doing edging like I did here. But I'm not really good at that, so I do what I did here, and the effect works. And lastly, Snot Green is going to appear brighter on Dark Angels Green, and Dark Angels Green is going to appear darker. They work well together. It's not as extreme as what you're seeing here. So to the naked eye, this isn't as extreme looking in terms of the highlighting from the bright to the dark. Oh, and one more thing. I will do what the comment said, and I will try to do his skull and bone. The reason I was staying away from that from the beginning was the tabard and the bone, while they will be done differently, will have a similar look. And I didn't want it to kind of get lost, but I figured why not? Let's try it. Some people requested it, and I'm sure it'll look good once I finish it, so I'll do that to that skull in case anybody was wondering. Anyways, that's it. So until next time, take it easy.